The next night of December 27, 1980, after midnight, another eyewitness to the triangular depressions in the ground and scorched grass and trees said that she was there with RAF Bentwaters Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt and the local Woodbridge Elementary School liaison officers with RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge. Now, this is the first time at this moment that I have ever reported this. The date of my interview was December 29th, 2010 in Woodbridge on the last day that John Burroughs, Jim Pennison, and I were with the Ancient Aliens TV production crew in Woodbridge, and we were working on segments for the History Channel series about the 30th anniversary return of these men to Rendlesham Forest. And one of the people in the production brought to us this well-groomed and articulate 85-year-old woman born on July 9th, 1925. She had heard about the Ancient Aliens TV production that we were doing about this 30th anniversary return. And she decided to have a friend drive her to where we were staying to talk with anyone who would listen about what she knew firsthand of the strange December 1980 events in Rendlesham Forest. It was the last busy afternoon before returning to the United States, and we did not videotape her. Instead, I met with her privately. None of us knew what she was going to say. She agreed to let me use my little tape recorder to tape her as long as I never revealed her name. The next morning we flew home, and eventually audio on my little recorder was transferred to my main computer. At about the same time, there was a hard drive failure in which I thought the audio and the files were lost. And the little recorder could not be found either. It was one of the strangest gaps, as if something had just lifted them out of my life and my office. And then only 3 months ago, in January 2015, the small recorder was found, along with a backup external hard drive that none of us knew in 2010 to 11 had saved the original transcript. And suddenly, coming back into my life in January of 2015, along with these other revelations in John's life, comes this extraordinary interview with a woman in which I'm going to share with you first part here, and then a while later I will share with you a second extraordinary part. This first-hand description by this woman, who was born in the United States, she was born in New Mexico, worked for several different military elementary schools. She had traveled around the world, including many years in a Woodbridge elementary school where children of RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge officers were enrolled. That is why she knew Deputy Base Commander Charles Halt and other base personnel. Her story begins after she had gone to bed at what she thinks was after midnight on Saturday, December 27, 1980. John, Jim, and Ed Kavansak were in the forest between midnight and 4 to 5 a.m. the 26th. So now we're past midnight on Saturday, December 27th. The phone rang, and it was the school's liaison officer with the air base. She had a late-night request from RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge Deputy Base Commander Charles Halt to meet out in Rendlesham Forest, not far from the East Gate. The liaison officer said she did not want to go alone to the forest and insisted that her school colleague, who was in bed, get up, get dressed, and join her at the Rendlesham location that Colonel Halt had requested.
Colonel Halt had left the party, and Sherry called me. I was in bed. She said, I want you to come with me to see Colonel Halt. And I said, well, why do you want me to go with you? She said, I just don't want to go by myself. And she was the school's officer, liaison between the school and the military. Halt was the deputy base commander, and she went to a lot of functions with him. I got dressed quickly, and we drove out to the Rendlesham Woods, and that's what we saw.
And you're pointing to the photograph.
Yeah.
Goulius with a British policeman.
Yeah, but nobody was there. It was just us. And we walked over to the ground. There were those funny shapes, like a splayed foot.
A triangular pattern in the ground.
Yeah, triangle. There were three.
It was a triangular depression in the forest floor.
Right.
What is Colonel Holt saying to you about what it is?
He didn't say anything about what. I just know I was looking because all of this looked as if it were scorched.
Could you smell?
Yes, there was a smell, and the three of us commented that it was a smell that we did not know, we did not recognize, and we had never smelled it before.
Did you look at the trees?
Yes, the trees were scorched.
Did Holt say anything?
No, he didn't mention it. This was scorched, and this was awfully green.
So the front of the photo was green, but this area between the depressions was scorched.
Yes.
And that might explain why there does seem to be a discoloration here.
There was a discoloration.
And these trees, you would call the trees scorched because why?
Well, because it looked the same as what was here.
A beige. As you looked at this beigey scorch on the trees and on the ground.
Oh, but it was also like crumbly.
So this might have been green and scorched to beige.
Yes.
How long do you think it took you to leave that spot to get to the East Gate?
Well, not long.
You were close.
Yes.
Close to the East Gate.
Yes.
You get home approximately what time?
Well, I think it was 4. I was shocked and I was shaken.
So here is somebody who was there physically, a surprise to all of us to learn that Colonel Holt would have gone to get 2 people who worked in the elementary school to go out to the site for reasons that he never explained to them. But she is, without anybody prompting or giving her any up front, she is describing the scene of the scorched trees and the scorched ground. And we know from Monroe Neville's, who went to this same site with a Geiger counter, that he went around to 3 holes in a triangular pattern in which the grass appeared to be burnt or scorched, and the trees appeared to be burned or scorched, and he took his Geiger counter around to the trees and in the ground where those holes were, and he reported above background in certain frequencies of radiation. And you will hear another very amazing thing from her in a few minutes. The woman said that she never understood what Holt wanted from her and her school colleague, but Colonel Holt was back in Rendlesham Forest the night of December 28th after midnight. John Burroughs was there too because he felt mysteriously drawn back to the lights again. And this time, Bentwaters Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Holt, was in the forest with a tape recorder, light-alls, Geiger counter, and other equipment to document the unusual aerial lights and beams that had persisted for 3 nights in a row by then. And Colonel Holt told me directly that one of the beams from an object in the air came down to the ground only a few feet from his own shoes, and he was confused about whether this was an act of aggression or not. But Colonel Holt gave John Burroughs and Sergeant Adrian Bustinza permission to go closer toward the lights. Sergeant Bustinza told John and me that he saw a red-orange aerial light surround John. And then suddenly Sergeant Bustinza was on the ground, and John Burroughs does not remember what happened, except that later Bustinza told John, quote, "The light forced me to the ground, and I saw the red-orange light come over you," close quote. Not long after John Burroughs had twice been close to the unidentified aerial phenomena in Rendlesham Forest, he He became ill and was diagnosed with a heart murmur, which he did not have when he joined the Air Force at age 18 in 1978. When we were in England working on the Ancient Aliens production, none of us knew about the Project Condign DI-55 report that links non-ionizing radiation from unidentified aerial phenomena to injury of human tissues and manipulation of human brains and minds. We all returned to the United States on New Year's 2011, and a month later in February, John Burroughs once again became very ill. He was diagnosed with congestive heart failure and atrial fibrillation. His lungs were filling up with water because his heart was not pumping right and would get out of rhythm. In his struggle to stay alive, to get the Veterans Administration to provide medical benefits, which were being denied because they said that they couldn't find any medical records for him for 79 to 82 in the beginning. And for him to endure life-saving open heart surgery and to keep filing FOIAs with the UK Ministry of Defence about the link between his heart damage and what happened in Rendlesham Forest in December 1980, John Burroughs has recently made stunning breakthroughs with the Veterans Administration and the UK Ministry of Defence. And recently, John Burroughs received the 2015 Researcher of the Year Award at the February 21st Open Minds Conference in Fountain Hills, Arizona. The award, yes.